The new Marmalead, hairier than bear, stronger than shark.
Dude, I'm recording and I'm gonna cut that out and use it right at the beginning.
You should.
What is up, guys? Welcome to Etsy Jam. We have got some sweet new Marmalead announcements for you guys today, so stay tuned. What is up, guys? Welcome to Etsy Jam. I am Gordon Hardy from Marmalead.
And I'm Richie from Marmalead. And if you don't know about Marmalead, Marmalead is actually what makes this Etsy Jam possible, because that's what we do full time. Now, Marmalead, much like marmalade, but spelled differently, but just as delicious, is Marmalead. Go there.com and check it out. Because if you are a Etsy seller who is serious about taking their shop to the next level and succeeding on Etsy, then this is what you need. Now, normally, in most shows, we would end with the Marmalead intro just like that, but this show is a little bit different because we are about to tell you about the brand new Marmalead, where we take it to the next level. So, Gordon, let's talk about the new Marmalead.
That's right, man. I'm excited about this. We've got a handful of really cool features that we're releasing, and by the time you listen to this, they're already going to be out there. So go ahead and check it out while you're listening if you want. But we're going to be talking about some of these new features today and what they mean for the Etsy community. So to kick things off with, I guess a little bit of a teaser here. We're going to be talking about maybe like going back to school a little bit. And we're going to be talking about storms and the weather. So just to give you a sense of what's going on with that. But
I hear a storm is coming.
Storm is coming.
Check your weather.
Yeah, check your weather. What your favorite weather app? I'm sure it'll cover it. So one of the big things that we hear from Etsy sellers all the time, right, is when they're sitting down to work on their SEO specifically with their listings, it's not always easy to know where to start, right? Let's say I've got 200 to 300 listings in my shop. Maybe I even have multiple shops. I've got a slew of listings and I need to figure out which ones need the most SEO help. Okay, now I can look at my Etsy stats and I can easily see which listings are performing well as far as sales. But as we all know, there's so many factors that go into sales that I can't really use that information to know how I'm doing SEO wise and where I'm showing up in rank and searches and which keywords I'm using that are resonating, whether I've used all my tags and things like that. So that's not always the best place to go for this information.
Absolutely. Because, a lot of times there'll be a listing out there that's kind of an anomaly. It is doing well despite itself, despite that it's not really set up the right way. And normally when we're talking to a shop like that, there's someone that really wants to get to the next level, but they're like, listen, this listing sells really well, so I must be doing something right. But the rest of my listings, nothing happens. What's going on? And that's what we're trying to solve here, is letting you know what needs work.
Absolutely. So the first feature we want to talk about, the first big feature that we're rolling out with the new Marmalead, is a My Listings section of Marmalead. So when you log in, you're going to be asked to tie in your Etsy shop. And when you do that, we're going to go through all of your listings in that shop and we're going to analyze these listings, looking at things that will impact your SEO for those listings. We'll then present you with a giant grid of all of your listings, and each one has an easy to understand letter grade on it, showing you how that listing is doing for SEO. So it'll range from an A+, you're doing the absolute best you can with this listing, all the way down to an F. And by looking at this grid, it's going to be really quick, really easy to see which of your listings stand out and jump out at you as like, oh, hey, I've got an F here, big red text. I need to go in and I need to take a look and see what is wrong with this listing. What do I need to do to bump this up and to do better with this listing?
Absolutely. Because, if you have a listing that's a B+, but you have a whole bunch of listings that are, C's, D's, and F's, well, what's going to end up happening is you spend maybe a disproportionate amount of time trying to get that B+ up to an A+,
yeah,
when the rest of your listings are really disproportionately weighing you down.
Absolutely.
Right? So your time is probably best spent getting the rest of them up to where they need to be, up to that baseline. And, again, you can tackle it different ways, but I'd get the rest of them up to a good baseline and then make those improvements from there. Yeah. Because, like we've talked about before, a lot of times you have this 80-20 rule of, 20% of your effort's going to get 80% of the results. So this can be a nice visual way to see where you're at.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned, Richie, that there are different approaches to this too, right? We've shown a handful of people some of these features and collected some good feedback that we're building into these things they're going to be released with them. one of the things that people would say, sometimes they don't want to look at the one that's performing the worst. They want to look at the one that's getting an A plus. They want to see their A's first, and they want to look into them and see, what am I doing that's working, right? Because then I can understand that and know that as I'm looking through all of my other listings, no matter where they're ranking, I know what I was doing here that worked, and I can just apply that in the back of my mind to everything else.
And that's smart. If you have a handful of listings that are A's and they are doing well, then you want to say, okay, if you have just one, it's hard to do. But if you have a handful of them, then you can say, okay, what am I doing? What are the things that are common between these listings? And then if I learn that, I can apply it to the other ones and they'll all be successful. So that's a smart way to go too.
So we've got this cool new thing where you can see all of your new grades that you have on all of your listings. The next natural question is, okay, cool. I've identified these listings that probably need the most work, or the ones that I want to start with, right? Now, how do I know what actually needs done with these things, right? Like, okay, this is cool. You've told me I've got these 5 things that I should really focus on, these 5 listings that need help. How do I know what to do? What's my to-do list? What do these things look like? Like, how do I know what needs improved on these listings? And we've got something for that too.
That we do. Yes, because if I just put a grade on it, I don't tell you how to improve, then that's not really going to help you much because you can't really learn. But once you click one of these listings, it's going to show you exactly what you're scoring on multiple different criteria, right? So we know that, hey, you have 13 tags to use, right? It's silly not to use all your tags, right? So we're going to grade you on that. And that, of course, is a sliding scale. And then tags, you need to use your tags in your title, right? Yep. That's very important. If you don't do that, then you're going to be a weaker relevancy in Etsy search, which is really relevancy search, sprinkled in some other factors, but nonetheless, right, we're trying to make sure you're doing these best practices to actually get found. But just that big grade's not going to tell you. So when you hit the big grade, you look down and you're going to see exactly what you can do to change your score.
Absolutely. This page, when you get into your listing detail page, it is full of so much information on how your listing is set up to perform on Etsy. We've got, like Richie mentioned, whether you're using all of your tags, how many tags you're using in your title, like he mentioned. We show if you're using all of your photos really easily at a glance, you can see like, oh, hey, man, I've got 2 more photos I should be using with this listing. Why not use all of my possible opportunities that I have to communicate with my customers and help them make that step to making the purchase? The ultimate goal, right, is getting them to buy that thing. And so look at that too. We've also got, trying to think of the last one.
Descriptions.
There's description information in there too. Absolutely. There's all kinds of these slider bars that'll show you how you're doing. And we've looked across the industry. We've looked at e-commerce in general and found some killer information about where you should be targeting different spots in your description in order to make those listings perform the best. So we've broken this into things like how many words are in your description. There are studies that have been done to find out what descriptions work best. What is the right number of words to target, right? Because you don't want to have something too short that isn't going to answer someone's questions. They're going to be left hanging and they're going to go somewhere else to find answers to those questions. And you don't want to have something too long that scares people away. They don't want to read it, right? So there are studies out there, and we've pulled that information into Marmalead and scored your descriptions based on that information. How many words are in there? How many sentences you're using in your descriptions? And we even look at sentiment of your descriptions. Do you want to talk a little bit more about sentiment and what we're trying to do with that, Richie?
Absolutely. So sentiment is this concept of, let's say, framing. And then you're going to say, what is framing? All right. So basically, if you talk about something, sentiment can be positive, negative, or neutral, right? So neutral being it doesn't make you feel one way or the other. But think about it. When someone or something, when a product, you go into something and you have good feelings about it, right? You want to be associated with it. You want to own it. You want to buy it. That's what you want to do. Even if you come in and the reason you're looking for this product is because there's a pain to it, you want this pain to go away. You want to feel good about what you're about to do. And that's kind of what, with the descriptions, with the sentiment, with everything, we're trying to think about the things that most people don't think about. Because most of us, right, these are subconscious decisions that we're making. We run around and our experiences as consumers, right? We go out and consume stuff and other people study this stuff and we don't even know they do it. But they do. And you have a certain amount of, if you think about purchases you make, you have a certain amount of gas in the tank for, there becomes a point in which you feel ready to buy. And some of those things are like getting enough of your questions answered, feeling like you've read up and are informed enough about this. So a very short description is probably not going to satisfy that appetite for information. A really long one, actually, if it's too long, is kind of the same problem, because I'm not going to be satisfied because I'm not going to read it, right? The description is too long, is too dense, and that's another thing we measure is readability. How difficult is it to actually read this description?
Yep.
Because a lot of times people won't, slog through it. But before I get too far away from sentiment, really sentiment is that positivity or negativity, how the description feels. Does it make people feel better or worse after they've read it? You want people to feel good, because when they feel good after reading your description, they are going to feel good about your product, right? So that's how you want to present it. So that's why we have a positive, basically a little section that's going to let you know what the algorithms think about your description, positive, neutral, or negative.
Also on that same page where we have all that other information, there's a table at the bottom that will show all of your tags that you're using on that listing. Now, if you're not using all 13 tags, it calls it out down there too, so you can see that. We'll also show you what the strength of each tag is in your title, so you can know how strongly you're targeting that keyword. Obviously, it's important, like Richie said at the very beginning of the show, it's important to put your tags that you really want to target in both your tag list and in your title. And the best place for those tags, if you really want to target them, is the very beginning of your title. Etsy has told us, the tags that you put at the beginning of your title carry more weight than the ones further back in your title. So we show the strength score of your tags based on their location in your title. Now, all of your tags that aren't listed in your title, they're still there. You can still see them. And in fact, they have a strength of 0% because they're not in your title. Their title strength is 0 because they're not in there. So if you want to include those tags, if you can fit them, might be a good thing to do with that too. We also show in that same table, we show Marmameters for each of the tags. So you can easily see at a glance what the engagement is on all the tags that you're using, what the level of competition is on Etsy for all of the tags that you're using, and whether or not any of those tags will likely result in one of those dreaded category pages for searchers. When they perform a search, and you get to Etsy and I type in, jewelry, and it shows me a page that says like, cool, I know you want to look for jewelry, but what do you mean? Like, we've got necklaces, we've got bracelets, we've got earrings, we've got lots of different kinds of jewelry here. Pick one of these categories, and then I can show you results inside of that. Most times as a seller, you want to avoid that, right? So that's one of the things that we key off of with the Marmameters, is showing whether or not there's a high or a low risk of that tag bringing the shopper to a category page.
That's a great point. So some of the listeners might not be familiar with Marmameters and what we're doing.
Good point.
So you just described the category page. That's the third dot, right? If you're looking from left to right.
Yep.
The one on the far left is going to be engagement. Engagement is a combination of that views per week, favorites per week, and everything is scaled, right? So for the longest time when we didn't have the Marmameters, people would say, well, what's a good number? Like, how many views per week should I be looking for? Well, you really want to range it. It depends how much competition there is. Competition's the middle dot. So it depends was always the answer, and that's tough. What are we going to do? Give you a chart? So it's like, okay, so within this competition range, you want views per week like this, and then explain why that matters? No, that's not going to be good for anybody. So what we've done is we've color-coded it, and then on the main page, it tell you, very high, medium, low, all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
But basically, it takes the guesswork out and it lets the computer do what it's good at, which is math, right? So in the back end, it does that. You just have traffic lights. Green, good to go. All red, caution. So that's the Marmameters. One more thing I want to mention, though.
Yeah.
In the descriptions, with the readability that we mentioned, but the level, it escapes me what we called it right there, but the grade level of the writing that we measure right there. So this may shock you, as it normally shocks those who first come across this, but regardless of education level of the audience, apparently speaking at a 4th grade reading level or writing at a basically communicating at a 4th grade reading level is more effective across the board. It does not matter if your audience is all, PhDs in what'd be a good PhD? English. English. I was going to say English, and then I was like, oh, but what about all, like, anyone that's listening in a different language?
Insert your native language here.
Absolutely. Someone with an excellent grasp on a language, right? And like that's what they do. They're a writer in
Yeah.
whatever language. It doesn't matter. Now that you're not going to win awards for writing, look
Yeah.
at the wonderful, huge words that they've used. It's what a grasp, what an award. But you're going to reach more people, and it's going to be more effective, and they're going to understand what you're saying.
I think that is how they give awards too, by the way, is usually based on the word length.
Probably. I was going to say that wasn't it like Jeopardy or something like that, like the $5 words or $10 words. There was a game show, and it's like it was like $5 word type thing. So I don't know. It was a thing. It was a thing at one point. Someone's gonna know.
And this
Someone's gonna know. There's a thing.
this is kind of an across the board thing too. Like if you're familiar with blogging and you've done that, maybe you use the Yoast plugin on your WordPress blog, you're familiar with this concept of reading level, of grade level of the content that you're writing. And I don't at least know for me, when I go and I write something out, like it always surprises me. I don't hit that mark. I always have to do something to my writing to change it up so that I can make sure I'm hitting that exact mark that I want to hit. So it's a good thing to be aware of, right? It's obviously Etsy's not using descriptions in rank yet, but this is a really important thing for conversions, so that when you get people to your listing, your descriptions are really nailing it, and you're helping push them along to make that purchase, right? End their sales journey there.
Exactly. And let's circle right back to rank also, because we know, and Etsy confirmed, that they will rank higher for longer listings that people are buying, listings that convert.
Yeah.
So whereas right off the bat, there's not a direct correlation of conversion because you might have a brand new listing,
Right.
but the listing that keeps getting traffic but no sales,
Yes.
Etsy's going to stop putting it forward, because if you were in the position of physically selling something, you had a handful of things to sell.
Yep.
You're not going to keep leading with the one. I keep offering people this and they don't buy it. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to grab something else. I'm going to lead with that. And the one that sells is the one I'm going to keep presenting. And it's the same thing. When you have a whole case, which Etsy does, of products, millions of products to put in front, they're going to choose the ones that win. Make sure yours is a winner.
Absolutely. One of those is description, right? Obviously, make sure your photos are top notch too. But there's other things you can do in there to make sure that you're converting as best as you possibly can. And like Richie says, that's going to help you do even better in Etsy search and rank even higher. So that's awesome.
Absolutely. And also, if you have customers that are going to be speaking different language natively and they're going to be converting those listings over, the lower the grade level you're writing in is the simpler communication style, and it's going to translate better.
Absolutely. Easier to understand for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So two cool things. Now, what happens if I have multiple Etsy shops, right? Like I know I get Marmaleads connecting to my shop. They're pulling back all of my listings. They're scoring these things. I can go in and look and see exactly why I'm getting that grade, and I can see what I need to do to improve that grade. What happens if I have multiple shops? Is this going to mean that I have to buy multiple copies of Marmalead in order to do this? This is a question.
Fortunately,
Go ahead. You can answer.
Oh, fortunately, no. Fortunately, we can handle multiple shops. You can connect as many shops as you have. So if you are very ambitious and you have many, many, many shops, go ahead, connect them all.
Yep.
And you can get your listings graded for all of them, which is fantastic. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, this is a question we get from people a lot. Even with the current Marmalead that was out there, like the old Marmalead, I guess we can call it now. People asked us that all the time. Am I able to use this? Before I sign up, am I able to use this across multiple shops? And so we knew this was important to people. We had this ability with the old Marmalead. We wanted to make sure that we carried that same ability through to the new Marmalead. It didn't really make sense to us to force people to have separate Marmalead accounts for their different shops. Especially paying customers who are paying to access these things. We want to give you all of that same functionality that you were familiar with in the old Marmalead. And even though we're doing some more advanced things and connecting directly to your shops now to pull back some really good information, we wanted to make sure that we're still pulling that forward with the new Marmalead.
Absolutely. I also want to take a quick pause here to talk about security, because I know whenever Gordon and I look at a service that wants to connect to an account, right? Because hey, log in with Facebook, log in with Google, log in with Twitter, any of these things, right? Whenever something wants to connect to the account, and you should think this too, we personally, so that's why we have to tell you, think about who you're letting connect to your account there, right? So here at Marmalade, we want to be very transparent about it, right? We do this full time. We're professionals in this. We really care about security. We have a secure platform, but also we never see things like your password. I know that's always a question that comes up. I don't want that place to have my password. Cool, because we don't want your password either, and we're not going to get it. We are connecting through the channel that Etsy has put out for us to connect to, right? Their secure vetted channel. Bunch of stuff happens behind the scenes there, security wise, but basically we never see your password. We never get anything like that. So as far as the password question that I always see come up, we never get the password. Okay.
Fun fact, we don't even have access to your Marmalade passwords. We don't know what those are. Those are encrypted in our database. We can't even look up what your password is. When you type it in, it will confirm that it is set correctly in the database and that you can log in. But we can't actually see even your Marmalade passwords, right? Security is super important to us. And we want to build things like we would hope that all of the tools are built that we like to use ourselves. So that's how we have stuff set up.
Yep. They might actually be wondering, some of them might anyway, how you can verify the password if you don't know what it is. So I'm not sure the easiest way to explain a one-way hash, but basically, I don't know if I want to explain what encryption is, but encryption basically garbles things up into like a pretty short string of otherwise meaningless information, but it only goes one direction. Once you do this with the password, you cannot like reverse it and see what it was before, right? So if you set your password to Marmalade123, like once it goes into that encrypted, it's called a hash. Once it goes into that, you can't reverse it. There is no reverse function. All you can do when you go to the login screen and you put your password in so that we let you in, what it does is it uses that same one-way hash and it converts it to that, and then it tries to match it to what you already have in our database. Again, that meaningless thing, so we don't know your password is. So I guess you could have like horrible things about us in your password. We wouldn't know.
Really wouldn't.
Big joke on us, I guess. But if those match up, then it lets you in. But that's it. So, if in the past, people have emailed me like, hey, what is my password? I don't know. I can give you a new one. But
we can change them, but we can't see them.
Right. Exactly.
Which is good.
So
that's the way you want most sites to handle your data.
It is. And you'll see, in the different data breaches that happen with like some of the big sites, the LinkedIns, the Yahoo Mails, etc. I don't want this like a big security podcast, but you'll see one of the things that other services that do it well, like Dropbox and stuff, they'll email you out and they'll let you know, and they'll be like, okay, listen, our database of passwords have been taken and this and that, but this is how we secure your passwords in the database. So we're confident that even if someone has that,
they can't,
and you use it on other sites, which you shouldn't use the same password for multiple sites, they'll never be able to get it because we do this to it, this to it, this to it, this to it. And good luck trying to figure out what that password is. So
good point.
Thanks.
That's a good thing to bring up, especially with Etsy accounts, right? Like we know those are like your prized possessions right there. We don't want to be messing with your Etsy account, and so we don't want to have credentials to your Etsy account, which would expose you in any way or form. So we definitely don't have that. Now, the next thing, another thing that we hear a lot from Etsy sellers, another big struggle for them is keyword ideation and coming up with keywords that I can use on my listings that, they're relevant, they're good descriptions of what my listing is, but just as importantly, they're keywords that do well on Etsy, right? Like people are engaging with these keywords. People are searching for these things and they're clicking the listings with the intent of buying these things, right? That's what we refer to as engagement. And that is incredibly important because if you're targeting a keyword that people are searching but never actually engaging with, and maybe they do their search and it comes up with a bunch of results and they say, okay, this is really not what I had in mind. Let me try that again. Type in something else. Now that's the search that really matters because they're going to start clicking things and going into those things. So that's the one you want to engage with, not the one necessarily that is even the most commonly searched if they're not clicking those things. So it's really hard to come up with keywords for these things. Now, there's all kinds of things you can do for this, right? People talk about using the Etsy search bar and they start typing something in there to kind of get some ideas, different ideas for keywords. I mean, that's okay. That is a way of getting keyword ideas. But again, you really have no idea how those keywords that they're giving you are performing on Etsy. And oftentimes they're just matching on characters that you're typing in. You don't even know that they're necessarily all going to be relevant to what you're trying to find. There's other places you can get keywords too, right? You can ask your friends for keyword ideas. That's only going to get you so far. This is a real issue for lots of Etsy sellers. It's not an easy thing to do, right? And we know this. It's not simple.
No. And you have to span geography too.
Yeah.
Because like you just said, if you ask, there's several circles. And if you ask people in your family, you're going to use words like you, right? And then if you ask your friends, you might get some variety. But again, they're your friends for a reason. They're a lot like you. They're going to use words a lot like you. So the further out you go, the more interesting ways of describing things you're going to find, right? And then if you talk to somebody, on the other side of whatever country you happen to be in, they are going to describe things a little bit differently, but you're talking about the same thing, right? Like pop and soda, right? Very different. So that's important. Yeah. It's important to understand that distinction. And some of those things, if for your point, like, searching for something but not engaging with it, let's say, when I'm searching on Google and stuff like that, doing any searches in general, I'll type something in expecting a certain result, and I'll get something completely different because I didn't realize there was a brand or some other product that was pretty much dominating search for that, but it's not all what I wanted.
Right.
Okay. So I want something with the abominable Sasquatch snowman Yeti thing, right? So I type in Yeti, and then all I see are a bunch of coolers and like really insulated cups and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, that's not what I want. No, I don't want, a shirt with this brand name on it. I want a shirt with the big snowman, the big hairy snowman, the Sasquatch, right? The Yeti. I didn't engage with any of that. So anybody that showed up on that that's actually trying to sell me the snowman shirt, I didn't engage it because, no, I would have engaged that. I wouldn't have engaged the cups. Sorry, I confused that. Regardless, someone's looking for one of those, and they're not just going to be like, well, I was looking for a snowman shirt, but now I think I'm really thirsty and want an insulated cup.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
Richie's bringing up a really good point about Google search here. And this is an important thing to keep in mind. Whenever you're trying to figure out search volume and engagement of different terms, when people go to Google, there's 3 different kinds of searches that they're doing. They're called knowledge-based searches. They want to find some kind of information. Navigational searches, they want to get somewhere, right? Like I need to find either a place in the world or a place on the internet, and I'm just trying to get there. And the third one is an action-based search. I want to watch a video. I want to purchase something. I want to listen to music, right? Now, Etsy sellers are really only concerned with that third one. I don't know what the breakdown is percentage-wise of the kinds of searches that Google sees across this, but the whole point is that there's not just that. People aren't just going to Google to search for things to buy, okay? So when they're showing you all the search term information and popularity of searches, you have to keep in mind that there are 2 other huge categories of searches that people are doing on Google that don't necessarily reflect just that one small sliver that Etsy people are concerned with. So
absolutely. Google is the king of knowledge searches.
Yeah.
But I recently found out that it is, and people like to say, oh, it's the largest searcher in the world. Yes, because those 3 categories Gordon just explained. But the biggest product search in the world that does 3 times the volume for product searches than Google does is actually Amazon.
Oh, totally get it.
It's actually Amazon. I don't know where Etsy ranks in that because, Etsy doesn't say like, hey, this is where we stack up in product searches.
Yeah.
At least that I'm aware of. But yeah, Amazon. Amazon is 3 times more than Google. So when you see a number for searches done in Google, how many of those, especially when you're talking about crafts, right? Birdhouse.
Yep.
Well, how many people that search birdhouse are looking to buy one versus make one?
Yeah, like or find a picture of one because I need to put it in a Word document somewhere.
That's a great point too.
Yeah.
Because with Google image search, right, one of those categories up there, it's very common. That's a great. I'm doing a slideshow presentation. I'm doing a presentation for whatever and putting it in a PowerPoint or whatever program you're going to use for it. Where are you going to go? You're going to go to Google image search because they've got a huge library of pictures and they can even pull them off different web pages.
Absolutely.
So that's why people are looking for birdhouse.
Absolutely. So this whole process of keyword ideation is a challenge for a lot of people. It's a hard thing to do. And that's where we get into the storm that we talked about earlier, right? Thunderclouds rolling in, okay? A little bit of flashes of lightning in the distance. things are going to get crazy, right? It's going to start pouring rain here in a second, because the next big feature we want to talk about in Marmalead is our new feature called Keyword Storm. Find it on the left-hand side, called Storm. Nice, sweet lightning bolt there. The whole goal of this feature inside of Marmalead is to generate as many different keyword suggestions as we can that are relevant to you and that you can easily see how those things are performing on Etsy as far as engagement and level of competition. And again, that category page, the same Marmometers that we use across Marmalead to show you so many different bits of information about keywords, we're using these things in the Storm too. So you can go here, you type in a keyword, any keyword you want, right? And it's going to pull up a bunch of suggestions for you based on that keyword. Now, of this list that you're looking at, you can either ignore some of these keywords. Maybe some of them really don't apply to your listing that well. Maybe they're too specific. Maybe they're not the best ones for you. They don't describe your listing. And if somebody were searching for that and saw your listing, they wouldn't be compelled to click it anyway because it's not what they're looking for. You know that best, better than our search algorithm does, what your listing actually is, right? So you can ignore some of these keywords. You can also add these keywords that you like to a list that's going to grow. And this can be as big as you want. You can add keywords till, I don't know, like the storm rolls through. I don't know.
Till the cows come home.
Till the cows come home. So you could just keep doing this, right? And as you add keywords to your bucket of keywords that you want to keep, that list that you're pulling from is going to get longer and longer and longer, because not only are we pulling back those first set of suggestions, but every time you tell us you found a keyword that you thought was a good one, we're going to use that keyword to find even more suggestions for you. So literally, you could be doing this till the cows come home. That list is really, it's going to be hard to go through that entire list. We're basing this off of over 2.3 million keywords that are in the whole Etsy specific keywords, right? These aren't like garbage keywords that you're going to find all over the place. These are going to be ones that are going to be relevant to you.
Yeah. So whereas, a lot of the rest of Marmalead was all about and is about, taking a list of keywords and making it smaller. The Storm is all about taking a list of keywords and making it bigger.
Yeah.
Right. So this isn't the time to judge the keywords necessarily. No, this is the time to get weird and get a lot of keywords out there. Just like in brainstorming, there are no bad ideas, right? We'll evaluate those later.
Yeah.
Right now, let's get as many ideas on the table, because
right.
I know we've said it before, but it takes a lot of bad ideas to get a few good ideas. So this is where you just want to keep that creativity rolling. And that's what the Storm is all about.
Yep. The other cool thing with the Storm is as you create these things, you can save them off inside of Marmalead and always come back to them. It's always going to show you your same Storm list, your same suggestions, all the ones you had saved, and it'll even remember the ones you told it to ignore, so that if you want to keep editing that Storm and adding new keywords to that Storm, it'll let you do that, and it's going to remember to not show you the ones that you told it to ignore in the first place. And you can have as many Storms as you want set up inside of Marmalead. So, have at it. Go crazy, right? Find these massive lists of keywords and save these things so that you can come back and reference them. You can come back and you can nitpick those different keywords that are in there. And like Richie's saying, go to the next step, start comparing these things and really trying to find out which ones are better than others and which ones you want to use in your listings. I think it's also handy to keep track of the ones that you don't want to use in your listings, because a lot of times, when you're out there and you're putting tags in there, you might think of one off the top of your head and be like, oh, that's a great way of describing this. If I have it on a list that's showing me right there, boom, this is red for engagement. I get terrible engagement here. It's also high competition. This is not a keyword that I want to target, right? Easy reminder that I have in my bucket telling me not to use this keyword.
Yep. That's good. It's awesome. I mean, that's what you really need, because otherwise, how do you keep track of all of this?
Absolutely.
Solid problem, solid solution.
Absolutely. The last thing that we want to talk about here with you guys is, Marmalead has been very focused on SEO and how your SEO can perform on Etsy, how you can improve your SEO. Lots of our tools are geared around that. Lots of the stuff that we talk about in Etsy Jam, on our blog, and other things is geared around that too. Now, SEO is not everything, right? This SEO is a component, and it's going to be a huge component that helps you bring audiences and shoppers and traffic to your shop, but it's not the only thing that matters. We talked a little bit before about descriptions. We talked about photos. There's a world out there that is bigger than SEO, right? We're solving this one niche issue, which I think is an important one. But you can't stop there, right? You can't just have a commanding understanding of SEO, tee up all your stuff perfectly, and you're good to go. You won't do well. You need to have a better understanding. You need to have a bigger understanding and a knowledge of concepts that span farther than just SEO on Etsy. And we have something for that too.
Absolutely. Let me go just a little bit further in that introduction. So one of those problems, right? SEO gets you to the race, okay? But you still have to participate, right? You're in the event, but now you still have to win it. You still have to perform, okay? If when the starting gun goes off and you stand there and you don't do anything and everyone else takes off, right? You're not going to win. And that's where, why we can't sit here and tell you that SEO is all that matters, right? There are other skills involved. And that is why we launched the Entrepreneur's Course Library. So Entrepreneur's Course Library, right now, it's time of this recording, and so what is it? The end of October right now. Because again, this lives forever on the internet. So just want to, October 2016, I should even say. So that 3 years from now, you're not getting the wrong information about the course library. But we started out by seeding it with a couple courses. We have a collaboration with Michelle from 4-Letter Words Cards. 4-Letter Word Cards. Sorry, Michelle. Need to pronounce that properly. Take a step back. Speak a little slower. All right. And it's about 5 days to holiday bliss, right? So getting you prepared for the holidays. We did that because, as you can tell, since it's October 2016, people are gearing up for the holidays. So that's the type of courses that we're going to be putting in the Entrepreneur Course Library. It's not just SEO. There's only so much we can really talk to you about SEO to begin with, right? And that'd be kind of boring if we only, talk about one thing anyway. So we want to talk to you about other things, like getting ready for the holidays. The very next course that I'm going to put in is one on AIDA, AIDA, attention, interest, desire, and action. And that is something you can use in your photos. It's something you can use in all of your communication, including in your descriptions. And the idea of these things, well, that course specifically, is to increase your conversion rate. Conversion rate, what does that mean? For every 100 people that visit your listing, I want the number that buy your listing to go up.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. That's important. So it's going to be courses that talk to you and teach you about that in a nice, easy to understand way. And I mean, really, there doesn't have to be any selling on Etsy or business topic that we don't touch in these courses. And that's our channel for really getting that information out to you, because you have big plans, and big plans need big education to back it up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, as Richie mentioned, we're going to keep building this library out. We're going to keep adding courses to this library. Anybody who is a Marmalead entrepreneur is going to have access to this library of courses. They're video courses, really easy to watch and follow what's going on with these things. And it's a huge asset to you as an Etsy seller to not only have a good tool to help with SEO, but to have a really good understanding of lots of these other areas too, like Richie was talking about. You got to run in the race. You can't just show up, right? Now, obviously,
absolutely.
I was going to say, you do need to show up for the race, right? Like that's kind of a necessity. If you just start running and you haven't actually shown up for the race, you're going to have a problem there too, right? So they kind of go hand in hand, but you definitely need to, in addition to SEO, work on the other things that matter to you, to have a good grasp of other e-commerce concepts and things like AIDA to help you take your shop to the next level.
Absolutely. Because the competition as sell online grows, I mean, it's been around for a while, but anything, right? The whole world is getting more competitive, right? So you have to keep learning and moving forward so that you can maintain your place. Like nothing just stands in place. So
absolutely,
never think that you know enough, right? There's always something new to learn, and things change, right? What worked before doesn't mean it's going to keep working. Absolutely. And again, this is one of those channels where we want to keep you up to speed on that stuff. Yeah. And at this point, we said we're going to add one course per month, at least one course per month. To the library. Maybe more, but we've committed to at least one course per month.
Yep. So a whole lot of awesomeness for you guys that we're talking about in the show this week. Head out to Marmalead, check it out. We'd love to hear your feedback. Get out there, hook up your shops to Marmalead, check out how your listings are scoring, what grades you're getting on your things. Focus on the ones that are either doing really well and you want to see what you're doing that's that is working, but also check out the ones that need a little bit of help, right? And then easily see what things you need to fix on those, which ones are missing tags, which ones you can add photos to, and so forth, which descriptions maybe need a little bit of help and a little bit of love. Try a keyword storm. Go out there and create your own storm. Start building this list, right? Come up with some cool keywords. Save it so you can come back to it later. Check out the Marmalead Entrepreneur Library while you're there too. Check out the course that we have out there with Michelle. It's going to be fantastic. I think you guys are really going to love it.
I think so too. Definitely a lot to check out. Get out there, get busy with it, and seize the moment.
Absolutely. We will see you guys next time on Etsy Jam.